In that moment when she looks at you and suddenly goes quiet. Not because she has nothing to say, but because something in her is shifting. Something she can't explain. That is where everything begins. Not with words. Not with attention. But with a feeling she didn't expect you to create. Because most men try to impress the mind. But the mind is not what makes a woman stay. It is the emotional space you create around her that pulls her deeper than logic can rescue her from. And if you've ever noticed her energy change around you, slower breathing, longer eye contact, subtle hesitation before she replies, you've already touched that space. You just didn't know what you were doing. Welcome back to Female Code Unlocked, where we decode the silent psychology behind attraction, emotions, and the hidden patterns most people never notice. And if you're new here, subscribe now, because what you learn here will change the way you see people forever. Now listen closely. There is one feeling that can shift everything inside her. One emotional state that doesn't just attract her, it pulls her in without permission. And once she feels it around you, she won't understand why she starts thinking about you at random moments. Why your absence feels louder than your presence. Why her emotions begin reacting to you even when you are not there. That feeling is emotional safety mixed with emotional tension. Not comfort alone. Not excitement alone. But that dangerous balance between, I feel safe with you, and I don't fully understand you yet. Because the human mind, especially the emotional side, does not fall for what is fully known. It falls for what feels familiar enough to trust, but deep enough to explore. Think about it. A woman can meet 10 men who make her laugh, but she will remember the one who made her feel something shift inside her silence. The one who didn't rush to fill every gap in conversation. The one who didn't try to win her approval in every moment. The one whose presence felt steady, but slightly unreadable. That's where the obsession begins. Not because you did more, but because you did less in a very controlled, emotionally intelligent way. And here's where most men lose it completely. They confuse attention with impact. They think constant texting creates connection. They think over-explaining creates trust. They think proving themselves creates attraction. But in reality, over-availability destroys emotional mystery. And without mystery, the mind relaxes. And once the mind relaxes, desire fades. What keeps her emotionally engaged is not your words. It's the space between your words. It's the way you don't rush to fix every silence. It's the way you can look at her and not immediately reveal everything about yourself, yet still make her feel understood. Because when a woman feels she can feel you without fully figuring you out, her mind starts doing something dangerous. It starts filling in the gaps. And the moment she starts imagining you, you are no longer just a person in front of her. You become a thought she returns to when nothing else is distracting her. But here is the deeper layer most people never realize. This is not about playing games. It is about emotional pacing. Because attraction is not built in intensity alone. It is built in rhythm. Too fast. She feels overwhelmed. Too slow. She loses interest. But when you control emotional rhythm, when your presence feels calm, grounded, slightly unpredictable in a natural way, you create a psychological pull she cannot easily explain. And that is when she begins to lean in without realizing she is leaning in at all. And once she starts leaning in, you might think you need to do more to keep her there. That is exactly where most men destroy the connection they just created. Because the moment she shows interest, they increase intensity. More messages, more availability, more explanation, more emotional chasing. But attraction doesn't deepen under pressure. It collapses under it. What actually deepens her feelings is when your energy remains unchanged even after she starts opening up. That's the part that confuses her in the most powerful way. She expects you to shift, to become more eager, more expressive, more emotionally available in a way that feels predictable. But instead, you stay grounded, not cold, not distant, just steady, like you are not emotionally dependent on her reactions. And that stability creates something inside her that words cannot describe. Because now her nervous system is engaged. She starts paying attention to your consistency, your pauses, your emotional control, the way you don't rush into validation-seeking behavior. And in that space, something subtle happens. She starts feeling more than she thinks. You don't tell her she matters. She feels it because you are not trying to prove anything. You don't chase her attention. So her attention starts chasing you quietly. This is the shift most men never understand. Women don't just respond to what you give them. They respond to how you make them feel about themselves in your presence. And when your presence feels emotionally safe, yet slightly unpredictable, she feels a kind of internal pull that is difficult to escape. She feels calm, but also curious, comfortable, but also alert. And that combination is psychologically powerful, because the brain cannot fully relax in uncertainty, but it also cannot let go of emotional comfort once it is experienced. So she stays in between, not fully attached, not fully detached, just emotionally invested enough to keep thinking about you when nothing else is happening in her life. And that is where attachment quietly forms. Not in big dramatic moments, but in small emotional imprints. The way you looked at her without needing anything. The way you didn't rush to fill silence. The way you responded with calm instead of emotional overreaction. These are not actions. They are signals. And her subconscious reads every one of them. Because attraction is not built in what is said out loud. It is built in what is felt underneath the conversation. But here is the deeper truth most people never accept. You are not making her feel this way because you are trying to control her emotions. You are making her feel this way because you are no longer abandoning your own emotional center just to be liked. And that is what creates real polarity. When a man is emotionally grounded, he stops leaking neediness. And when neediness disappears, space appears. And in that space, she starts to feel you more intensely than she ever did when you were trying harder. That is the paradox. Less effort, more impact. Less chasing, more pull. Less explanation, more mystery. And once she starts associating you with this feeling, this calm emotional depth that doesn't demand, doesn't rush, doesn't collapse under attention, she doesn't just like you. She begins to return to you in her mind when she is alone, when she is quiet, when nothing else is distracting her. Because that feeling you gave her doesn't stay in the moment. It follows her. And that is when attraction turns into something far more powerful than interest. It turns into emotional dependency she cannot logically explain. And she will never call it that. She will just feel drawn back, again and again, to the one place where her emotions felt both safe and slightly out of control. You. And if you've ever made a woman feel that shift without even realizing it, now you understand exactly what was happening beneath the surface. This is female code unlocked. And once you see it, you never unsee it.